Alright, let's dive into something that's been bubbling up in the political sphere lately, and trust me, it's a doozy. So, here's the deal. Trump is considering pulling Todd Blanche's nomination for Attorney General. Now, on the surface, this might seem like just another political maneuver, but personally, I think there's a lot more going on here than meets the eye. What makes this really interesting is the reason behind the potential withdrawal. It's all tied to a controversial fund and some senators holding out. Let's break it down. First off, Todd Blanche has been acting as Attorney General since April, but his confirmation is stuck in the Senate. Why? Because two Republican senators, John Cornyn and Thom Tillis, are withholding their support. Now, these aren't just any senators. Their terms expire in January, which adds a whole layer of timing and strategy to this situation. What many people don't realize is that this isn't just about Blanche's nomination. It's about a $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund that was meant to compensate Trump allies for what they claim were politically motivated prosecutions. If you take a step back and think about it, this fund is a massive deal, and it's no surprise it caused a bipartisan backlash. Here's where it gets even more intriguing. Blanche, who negotiated this fund, ended up abandoning it after a federal judge blocked it, citing ethical concerns. But Cornyn and Tillis aren't letting this go. They want Blanche to commit in writing that the Justice Department won't revive the fund later. From my perspective, this is a classic case of political leverage. These senators are essentially saying, prove to us that this fund is dead and buried before we support your nomination. What this really suggests is that there's a deeper distrust at play here, not just about Blanche, but about the Trump administration's intentions. Trump's response? He's basically saying, if they don't play ball, I'll pull Blanche's nomination now and renominate him once Cornyn and Tillis are out of office. But here's the kicker. Democrats could win back the Senate majority in November, which would make renominating Blanche nearly impossible. This raises a deeper question. Is Trump playing a long game here, or is this just a high-stakes gamble? Personally, I think it's a bit of both. He's trying to call the senator's bluff while also keeping his options open, but it's a risky move, especially with the midterms looming. What makes this situation even more fascinating is the broader context. This isn't the first time Trump's nominees have faced opposition from his own party. Remember Matt Gaetz? Trump initially planned to nominate him as Attorney General, but that was quickly dropped. And let's not forget the two nominees to head the CDC who also failed to win Senate support. If you ask me, this pattern points to a bigger issue. Trump's struggle to get his allies confirmed in key positions. It's almost like he's constantly battling not just the opposition, but also factions within his own party. Now, let's talk about Cornyn and Tillis for a second. Cornyn lost the Republican primary to Ken Paxton, who's got his own set of scandals, and is now in a tight race against Democrat James Tallarico. Tillis, on the other hand, is in a state where polls show Democrats leading. What this really suggests is that these senators might be playing defense, not just for their principles, but also for their political survival. In my opinion, this adds another layer of complexity to the whole situation. Are they genuinely concerned about the fund, or are they using it as a bargaining chip to secure their own positions? One thing that immediately stands out is how this entire saga reflects the broader dysfunction in Washington. It's not just about Blanche or the fund, it's about the constant power struggles, the lack of trust, and the high-stakes maneuvering that defines modern politics. What many people don't realize is that these kinds of battles often have ripple effects, influencing everything from policy decisions to public perception. If Blanche's nomination gets pulled, it could send a signal to other nominees that their confirmations might also be in jeopardy, depending on how they handle controversial issues. So where does this leave us? Personally, I think this situation is a perfect example of how politics often gets in the way of governance. instead of focusing on the bigger issues, like, actually running the country, we're stuck watching these political chess matches. But here's the thing. This isn't just a story about Trump or Blanche or even the senators. It's a story about the system itself and how it's designed to reward brinkmanship over cooperation. What this really suggests is that we need to rethink how we approach nominations, confirmations, and political accountability. As we wrap up, I'm left with one big question. What does this mean for the future of American politics? Are we going to keep seeing these kinds of stalemates and power plays, or is there a way to break the cycle? Personally, I think the answer lies in how we, as voters, hold our leaders accountable. If we keep rewarding this kind of behavior, it's only going to get worse. But if we demand better, if we insist on transparency, integrity, and cooperation, maybe, just maybe, we can start to turn things around. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that matter.